So you're managing diabetes and maybe you still enjoy a daily banana, thinking it's a completely safe choice, right? Well, you might actually be surprised to learn that this very common fruit could be making your blood sugar control a bit harder than it needs to be. But here's the good news. Understanding why is pretty simple, and we've definitely got some solutions for you. In this discussion, we're going to uncover why bananas can be a little tricky for diabetics, taking a closer look at their impact on sugar levels and offering some smarter fruit strategies for better glucose management. Number 1. Fluctuating glycemic index, GI, and glycemic load, GL. First up, let's talk about something called the glycemic index, or GI. Understanding this is really helpful when you're managing diabetes. Basically, the GI scale ranks foods from 0 to 100 based on how quickly and how much they raise your blood sugar levels after you eat them. Foods with a low GI, typically 55 or less, are digested and absorbed more slowly, which leads to a gentler rise in blood sugar. Then you have medium GI foods, which fall between 56 and 69, while high GI foods are 70 and above. These cause a more rapid spike in blood glucose. So for those of us with diabetes, choosing low to moderate GI foods more often can be a really key strategy for keeping blood sugar stable. Now, bananas present a bit of a unique challenge here because their glycemic index isn't fixed. It can actually vary quite a bit. For instance, a greener, less ripe banana might have a GI as low as 31, placing it firmly in that low category. But as a banana ripens and its starches convert into sugars, its GI can climb, potentially reaching up to 85 for a very ripe one, and that's considered high. And of course, the portion size also plays a role. A smaller banana will naturally have less impact than a larger one, even if their ripeness level is similar. This variability means that the banana you eat today might affect your blood sugar quite differently than the one you ate just last week. And it's not just about the glycemic index. It's also really important to consider something called the glycemic load, or GL. You see, the glycemic load accounts for both the quality, that's the GI, and the quantity, meaning the grams of carbohydrate, of a food in a typical serving. So, a food might have a low GI, but if you eat a large portion of it, it can still have a significant impact on your blood sugar. For example, while a small, slightly underripe banana might have a low GI, its glycemic load could still be moderate. And if you go ahead and consume a large banana, or maybe even a couple of bananas, the total carbohydrate intake, and therefore the glycemic load, can really add up. This could potentially lead to an unwanted increase in your blood sugar levels, even if you thought you were choosing a healthy fruit. Understanding both the GI and the GL gives us a much more complete picture of how bananas might affect your diabetes management. So you can see this variability in both GI and GL is really just the beginning of why bananas can be a bit complicated. Now, let's take an even closer look at what happens as a banana ripens. Number 2, ripe bananas and blood sugar spikes. All right, moving on to our second point. The transformation a banana undergoes as it ripens is actually a pretty fascinating natural process, but it's one that people with diabetes really need to understand clearly. You see, when a banana is green and firm, a lot of its carbohydrate content is in the form of resistant starch. This acts a bit like fiber and has a minimal impact on your blood sugar. However, as that banana ripens, turning yellow and then developing those familiar brown spots, enzymes get to work converting these starches into simple sugars, primarily sucrose, fructose, and glucose. This increase in simple sugars is what gives ripe bananas their characteristic sweetness. But importantly, it also significantly raises their glycemic index. So, what does this mean for individuals managing diabetes? Well, consuming an overripe banana can lead to a rapid and pretty significant rise in blood glucose levels. Because the sugars in a very ripe banana are so readily available, they're quickly absorbed into the bloodstream. This can be particularly risky if your blood sugar is already on the higher side, or if you're quite sensitive to carbohydrate intake. This quick spike can make blood sugar control more difficult and might even require adjustments in your medication or activity levels, creating an unwelcome challenge in your daily routine. It's really helpful to remember that there's a kind of proportional relationship here. The riper the banana, the higher its potential to cause a blood sugar spike. So, a slightly yellow banana with just a hint of green at the ends will generally have a lower GI and be gentler on your blood sugar than a fully yellow, soft banana. And a banana that's very ripe, soft, and covered in brown spots? That one will have the highest concentration of sugar and, therefore, the greatest potential to elevate your blood glucose quickly. Being mindful of this progression can really help you make more informed choices if you do decide to include bananas in your diet. Now, considering how dramatically ripeness changes the sugar content, the actual amount you eat becomes even more critical, doesn't it? So, let's examine how portion sizes can make a real difference. Number 3, portion size and accumulated carbs. Our third point really emphasizes that even if a banana isn't overly ripe, the amount you consume plays a crucial role in how it affects your blood sugar. A standard serving of banana, often thought of as about half of a medium fruit, has a moderate glycemic load. But let's be honest, medium can be pretty subjective, and many bananas you find in stores are actually quite large. If you eat a whole large banana, or perhaps 2 smaller ones, the carbohydrate content and the resulting glycemic load can quickly add up, leading to a more substantial rise in blood glucose than you might have anticipated. And it's also very easy to underestimate your total carbohydrate intake when bananas are tucked away in mixed dishes, like smoothies or desserts. While a smoothie might sound like a healthy option, blending a whole banana with other fruits or sweeteners can result in a beverage that's actually very high in sugar and carbohydrates, quite capable of causing a sharp blood sugar spike. Similarly, things like banana bread, banana puddings, or even just a banana sliced over a large bowl of cereal can contribute a significant amount of carbohydrates that might not be immediately obvious. So, being aware of these hidden sources of banana carbs is really important for careful diabetes management. Therefore, being diligent with portion control is absolutely paramount if you choose to eat bananas. Things like measuring or weighing your portion, or even just opting for the smallest bananas available, can help you manage your carbohydrate intake much more effectively. And, of course, keeping track of the total carbohydrates in your meals and snacks, especially those containing banana, will really help you stay within your targets and maintain better blood sugar stability. Okay, so beyond just the banana itself, what you eat with it can also change its impact quite a bit. Let's explore this next, shall we? Number 4. Context matters. Bananas alone versus with other foods. This brings us to our fourth point. Context really does matter. How you eat a banana can be just as important as how ripe it is, or how much of it you consume. You see, eating a banana all by itself, especially if it's ripe, can lead to a faster absorption of its sugars into your bloodstream. This happens because there are no other nutrients present to slow down the digestive process, allowing that glucose to enter your system more rapidly, potentially causing a quick rise in your blood sugar levels. Now, a smarter approach, if you do choose to include banana in your diet, is to pair it with foods that contain protein or healthy fats. For instance, eating a small portion of banana with a handful of nuts, perhaps a spoonful of unsweetened nut butter, or even a serving of plain Greek yogurt can help slow down the absorption of the banana's sugars. The protein and fat in these accompanying foods take longer to digest, which means the glucose from the banana is released more gradually into your bloodstream. This usually results in a more blunted and manageable blood sugar response. And the timing of when you eat fruit like bananas also matters quite significantly. Consuming fruit, especially one with a moderate to high sugar content like a ripe banana, immediately after a large meal can sometimes aggravate those post-meal glucose surges. This is because your body is already working hard to process the carbohydrates from your main meal. Adding more carbohydrates from fruit right on top of that can sometimes overwhelm your system. So it might actually be more beneficial to consume a small, controlled portion of banana as a standalone snack between meals, or to incorporate it very carefully into a meal that is otherwise low in carbohydrates. All right, now that we've explored these complexities surrounding bananas, you might be wondering if there are other fruits out there that are a bit simpler to manage. Well, let's take a look at some alternatives. Number 5, better fruit choices for blood sugar control. And for our fifth point, let's talk about some better fruit choices for blood sugar control. While bananas definitely require careful consideration for people with diabetes, the good news is there are many other delicious fruits that generally have a lower glycemic index and can be much more blood sugar friendly. Think about berries, for example. Strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, and blackberries are all excellent choices. They're not only lower in carbohydrates and sugar compared to bananas, but they're also packed with fiber and antioxidants. Apples, especially when you eat them with the skin on, and pears also tend to have a lower GI and provide that beneficial fiber that aids in slower sugar absorption. Cherries are another great option with a relatively low GI. The great thing about these fruits is that they can often be enjoyed in slightly larger portions than bananas without causing such a dramatic impact on your blood glucose. Now, it's absolutely true that bananas offer several nutritional benefits. They're a good source of potassium, which is important for heart health and blood pressure regulation, and they also contain fiber, vitamin B6, vitamin C, manganese, and magnesium. These are all valuable nutrients, no doubt about it. However, for individuals managing diabetes, the carbohydrate content and its impact on blood sugar often need to be the primary consideration when choosing fruits. So the key here really is moderation and context. A small amount of banana, chosen carefully for ripeness and eaten as part of a balanced meal, might be manageable for some people, but it definitely requires more vigilance than many other fruits. There's a common misconception out there that all fruits are always healthy and can be eaten without any limits. And while fruits are indeed a vital part of a healthy diet, for people with diabetes, evidence-based guidance really means understanding that not all fruits are created equal, especially in terms of their glycemic impact. Shifting your focus towards lower GI fruits and being really mindful of portion sizes for all fruits is a much more effective strategy for maintaining stable blood sugar levels and your overall well-being. Understanding the nutritional profile of bananas. Now, despite the concerns we've talked about regarding their sugar content and glycemic impact for diabetics, it's really important to acknowledge that bananas are indeed a source of several beneficial nutrients. For example, a medium-sized banana provides a good amount of potassium. This is an essential mineral that plays a key role in maintaining healthy blood pressure, heart function, and fluid balance. Bananas also offer dietary fiber, which can aid digestion and contribute to feelings of fullness, although it's fair to say the fiber content relative to sugar is less favorable than in some other fruits. Furthermore, bananas contain vitamin B6, which is important for brain development and function, and also vitamin C, a well-known antioxidant that supports our immune system. They also provide manganese, which is involved in bone health and metabolism, and a smaller amount of magnesium, which plays a role in numerous bodily processes. All these nutrients collectively contribute to the banana's reputation as a generally wholesome food for the general population. Plus, the presence of various antioxidants in bananas also helps combat oxidative stress in the body. However, and this is a key point, when you're managing diabetes, the impact of the fruit's carbohydrate content on your blood glucose levels often needs to take precedence over these other nutritional benefits, especially if consumption isn't carefully controlled. Remember, an excess of even healthy foods can be problematic if it disrupts your blood sugar balance. Practical tips for diabetics who still want to eat bananas. So, if you have diabetes and you really enjoy bananas, the good news is you don't necessarily have to eliminate them entirely from your diet. However, careful management is absolutely key. One really practical tip is to choose bananas that are slightly green or just yellow, rather than those fully ripe or brown-spotted ones, as these will generally have a lower glycemic impact. And, as we've discussed, portion control is also vital. Perhaps consider eating only half a small banana at a time instead of a whole one. It's also generally advisable to avoid bananas in highly concentrated forms, like in smoothies or juices, where a large amount of sugar can be consumed very quickly. Instead, if you do decide to eat a piece of banana, try to pair it with a source of protein or healthy fat. Think a few almonds or a tablespoon of peanut butter. This combination can really help slow down the absorption of sugar and lessen that blood sugar spike. Also, consider the timing of when you eat your fruit. Eating your small portion of banana as a mid-meal snack rather than immediately after a large meal or alongside other carbohydrate-rich foods might be better tolerated by your system. Spreading your overall fruit intake throughout the day instead of consuming a large amount all at once can also help your body manage the sugar load more effectively. And, of course, it's always so important to monitor your blood sugar to see how bananas personally affect you, because everyone's different. So, to wrap things up, While bananas certainly offer valuable nutrients like potassium and fiber, their variable glycemic impact and significant carbohydrate content make them a fruit that people with diabetes really should approach with caution. Understanding their specific effects on your own body and making those informed dietary adjustments are absolutely essential for safe and effective diabetes management. Did you find this insight valuable? If so, please feel free to share this with friends and family who might benefit from it. For more evidence-based nutrition tips to help you manage diabetes, why not subscribe to our channel? And we'd love to hear from you. Please leave your experiences or any questions you have about fruit and diabetes in the comments below. Let's talk!